Go love your own enemies. Don't be loving mine. My enemies are the theocratic fascists. I don't love them. I want to destroy them.
Child made in the image of God. Oh no, you're not. You're a faggot. And you can't join your church and you can't go to heaven. This is disgraceful. It's inhuman.
I'm sorry, I tried to do background music. Founding Father look today, as we're trying to look like one of the wise, learned men of history past who founded this proud nation. Okay, I'm just in a weird mood. Yes, and okay. I feel like making a video, and it's a serious video, but I'm in a weird mood. So it's kind of like a conglomerate, if that's the right word. Okay, let's look at the dictionary to start with here. The definition of presume. To think that something is true without knowing that it is true. To accept legally or officially that something is true until it is proved not true. Okay, I think the first definition is the most accurate. To suppose to be true without proof. Assume and presume are both very similar words, and I tend to use assume more than I do presume, but they are very similar words and almost, in my opinion, interchangeable. Okay, which brings me to the subject of this video, which, if I can get it back, concerns a particular theist by the name of Icky Man. And you know, I can't say that without thinking of Monty Python and the Holy Grail. Icky, icky, icky. Sorry. Knights of Knee. Knights of Knee. I will say neat to you until you appease us. Sorry. I love that movie. I do. I love that movie. I used to at one point have the entire Frenchman monologue memorized. But we won't get into that. Icky Man! Icky, icky, icky. Okay, we're going to look at Icky Man's response to somebody named Mr. Fungus 420. That's Mr. Fungus 420, all one word, and this is under the video Ray Comfort and Unbeliever, because we know Ray Comfort is just so interesting to watch. Icky Man is talking to Mr. Fungus 420, and he's very smart. Icky Man is very smart. Mind the mouse noises. They're going to happen. There's really nothing I can do. I've thought about getting little itty-bitty straitjackets and putting the mice, you know, when I'm going to make a video, putting the mice in a little straitjacket so they can't really make any noise, but the cost, the investment alone for this, they're very expensive. Tiny straitjackets are there's a huge market for them, and they're extremely expensive. Okay, so let's go into the world, the mind, the murky mind of Icky Man. Let's see how the universe is according to Icky Man. Okay, his note to Mr. Fungus 420. There's a huge thread here, and I'm not going to read the whole thing, but let's read, shall we, from post put up on March 29, 2015 by Icky Man, addressed to Mr. Fungus. It's actually plus Mr. Fungus 420. Interesting. Okay, so he writes, Icky Man writes, so, what religion were they talking about? You actually expect anyone to really believe it wasn't Christianity? To be honest, I am not really familiar with Rude, but I was only talking about that video that proves Sodom and Gomorrah was burned to a crisp. I would live I would live. I think he means like. I would like to have some of that ashes from there. So you say it didn't happen? Assuming everything in the Bible, according to your leaders, is a lie. According to your leaders? What leaders? Is a lie. How about historians, icky man? According to historians, not leaders. We don't have leaders. Take up to your leader. No, we don't have leaders. Unlike Christianity, we're not like atheists. It's not like an organization. All the atheists gather and listen to some leader. We have some people that you know, we respect a great deal, but every atheist has something different to say. We're not a little pack of sheep. We all have different theories and thoughts and ideas, and unlike Christians, we disagree often with each other. Anyway, so I digress. That's the first one. I'm sure there'll be others. Let's go back to Mr. Icky Man. Okay. According to your leaders is a lie. I'm sorry. I'm having a hard time getting past the whole leader thing. It is a lie. It's not really a lie. A lie is, I would call the gospel, here we're digressing again. I would call the gospel fiction a lie, a blatant manipulation and effort to lie to people, to make a spiritual being into a historicized character and make people think he actually lived. That's a lie. But the Old Testament and the majority of the Bible, I don't know if I'd call it a lie so much. It's just a story. It's a fiction book. It's like, you know, there's anthologies today where, okay, some editor decides they want to put together short stories about the land of Egypt, maybe fantasy stories about the land of Egypt. So, you know, they put up something, we're doing this anthology submission, please send your submissions to such and such, and we'll go through them, and those of you who are accepted will get so much money. That's an anthology, and then the book comes out, and it's a collection of short stories with the theme having to do with Egypt, or fantasy stories that take place in Egypt. That's an anthology. That's basically what the Old Testament is. It's an anthology. There are some actual historical people in the book, but that's true about most fantasy, historical fiction, historical fantasy. There are usually the places are real, some of the people are real, but the stories themselves and the majority of the main characters are made up. They're fiction. That's what the Old Testament is. It's fiction. It's a storybook. So it's not so much I don't really think of it as a lie. It's a storybook. And the cults have used that storybook to perpetuate, to further the agenda of their little whatever, their lie. Okay, so it's not so much that the Bible, the whole Bible's a lie, but part of it is a lie. It's a tool that has been used in a harmful way many times through history by these various cults. Okay, so back to Icky Man. I mean, if science said it was aliens, you would believe it, right? You don't question them at all, right? Is Rude right in this video? What is funny is you mention all of those people and debates, and yet it is really about faith. Yeah. Ooh, faith. Ooh. God doesn't really set out to prove he exists through the Bible. No, he really doesn't, does he? Or through any other way. This is distracting me. The cat is destroying my sofa, and I want to turn around but the sofa's a lost cause, so I'm not really doing much about it. Okay. God doesn't really set out to prove he exists through the Bible. No, what a silly thing for him to do. He just tells us where we came from, why we are here, and where we are headed, and how to take the straight and narrow. And we're just going to assume or presume that it's actually God telling us this stuff, because it says so in the book. It says in the book that the book is inspired by God, and it's the Word of God, so we're just going to assume it's true. We're just going to assume that God exists. We're just going to assume the book is written actually written by God, or you know, maybe it wasn't actually written by God himself, but he inspired every single person who ever wrote anything or edited anything or took out anything or added anything. He inspired all of them. It's completely 100% inspired by this God who doesn't prove himself and has not been proven to exist at all. Okay, back to Icky Man. Okay, straight and narrow. According to the book, what the book's definition of straight and narrow is, which apparently that narrow little path, that's where those few people managed to come across that little narrow path, those minority group of Christians that are so fortunate enough to come across this little narrow group. Ooh, last time I checked, it was actually not so narrow. It was like the fucking freeway, and the majority is on this freeway. And if you happen to be intrepid enough to try to swim upstream from this flow of whatever, good luck with that. You know, it's like a salmon trying to swim upstream. But they're the minority on the narrow path, and they're so persecuted. They're the minorities, and the world is against them, and those poor Christians, persecuted Christians on the straight and narrow. I guess he could just stick his head out of a cloud. Ooh, but then again, ooh, what the hell was he saying here? I guess he could just stick his head out of a cloud. But then again, we voted out of Eden. So fortunately for us, he made a way. Oh, excuse me, let me pull the string. He made a way of salvation through his death on the cross, and we all need it. All we need is a little faith to believe and receive it. Assuming. Oh, we're just going to assume all this is real. So true. It's so true because, oh my gosh, a book says so. Yeah, it's so true that we're going to call it reality. It's just, we're so fortunate. For us, he made a way of salvation through his death on the cross. And all we need is a little faith to believe and receive it. Just a little faith. Yeah, it says right in the Bible that you need to be like little children. Yeah, the cult is telling you, is encouraging you to be like little children. What are little children? How do they think? Well, they believe if somebody who seems to have authority tells them something, they believe it. They can blindly trust that Santa's coming if they just go to bed before midnight. Yeah, they have the ability to believe if something doesn't make sense. Well, it's because it was magic. Magic did it. Yeah, and little kids can believe in that. They can believe that, you know, the reason the coin is under the pillow and the truth is God is because magic. Yeah, all you have to be to believe, all you have to do to be a good Christian is be like a little child. Turn off your brain and just blindly trust. Believe. Believe without any proof or evidence whatsoever. Just because some book says so. Or because a big organization that wants your money says so. Yeah. Okay, let's get back to Icky Man. I am the queen of digressing. I really have this. It's down to an art form with me. I can't get through a whole paragraph without digressing all over the place. Okay, so what did he write? Oh, right, we're talking about this thing, this factual thing that actually happened with Jesus, who was invented by the church, but we're going to assume that it's all true. Okay, we're assuming it's true now. Fortunately for us, he made a way of salvation through his death on the cross. And all we need is a little faith to believe. Clap your hands if you believe and receive it. It is hard to argue against lies. You call God a lie. I call you a lie. And so we just wait and see. Simple. take your opportunity and do what you will with it. But don't attack those who do believe the capitalization truth. Yes, we must capitalize it. That makes it so much more likely to be true if we capitalize it. Yes, my beliefs are true. And all the other beliefs are so wrong. So wrong. They're fake beliefs, fake churches, fake religions, fake gods. But my belief is true. And I'm going to capitalize it. And I'm going to assume the whole world, you know, it's reality. My beliefs are reality. Not just true, but real. Oh my gosh, you're really going to go to hell if you don't believe just the way I do. And you're going to deserve it too. Okay, so here we are. But don't attack those who do believe the truth. And want others to know. I want you to know. Please don't ignore me. You must be saved. You're gonna burn forever because my God will do that to you, and I completely support it because I think you deserve it if you don't believe just the way I do. But I don't want you to burn forever because I actually don't think deep down inside that you should. So I want to save you. So I want you to know that my way is right. Actually, this was going to be a serious video, but I am so freaking weird today. It's just kind of like, okay, besides reading this kind of stuff brings it out in me. Okay, they want you to know, atheists. Don't you understand? They just want you to know. This is your last chance. Your last chance for salvation, or you too can be burning in hell forever. And the Christians will be up, la 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 la, dancing and praising God while they listen to you screaming in agony forever, and they'll be perfectly okay with it too. But they're the good people. Yeah, they're going to be condoning this torture that's going on forever and ever just because you can't believe. But they're the good people. So back to his little thing. Oh, here we go. Oh, it only gets better. Okay. They want others to know. It cannot be forced on you. But God does want you to hear it. And in the day of judgment, those words will come back to haunt you. They will be used against you to prove that you never once in your life repented and wanted the gift of pardon God offered you. Instead, you trampled the blood of Christ underfoot. So it is He, Jesus, who will be seated at the great white throne. By the way, many think it is the Father, and He won't be a silent lamb in that day, but a lion, roar, fearsome and powerful, no mercy. Honestly, this is what he wrote. This is what he wrote. And we know all this based on what? First of all, God. It might not even be Jesus. It's going to be God. God who? What God? Icky Man. You know, you have this lovely little fantasy world where you imagine all these lovely things. You imagine all the people who don't believe the same way as you do, burning forever in hell and being tortured forever in hell. You imagine it. And it's perfectly wonderful for you. You actually condone it and support it. You're all for it. Yeah, you will worship the God who will torture people forever just because they believed something different than you do. You will worship the God who will torture people forever because they were born in a different country and that country believed a different religion than yours. Let me ask you, Icky Man, if you were born in, say, the Middle East, you know, Iran, if you were born in Iran, the majority of people in Iran are Muslims, I'm pretty sure. Do you think you'd be a Muslim? If mommy and daddy were Muslims, and all your friends were Muslims, and everybody that you worked with were Muslims, and there was mosques everywhere, and people were going to mosque, and they were wearing what they were supposed to wear according to Islam, do you think you'd be singing the same fucking tune, only it would be for Islam? And about the Quran, don't you think? Oh, no, I would just be completely, I'd be a Christian even still. Well, you're full of shit if you think that. People's religions are based on basically where they grew up. It's determined by what the majority religion is in the area where they grow up. So if you were born in a pygmy tribe in Africa, and they believed in Aganga Gagoi, and they worshipped Aganga Gagoi. Don't even know if I said that twice at the same time. And they fed this god. They burned artichokes on the fire to appease Aganga Gagoi. Do you think you'd be a Christian, or do you think you'd be believing in Aganga Gagoi? Don't you think? It's only because you were born where you were born and your parents believed and all your friends and everybody, the majority, believe. Oh, but it's true! All the other religions are fake and false and lies, but yours is so true. And we're just going to assume this God is going to be like a lion actually exists. And that this God who exists, who is totally, absolutely not proven to exist, does nothing. You know, you're saying, well, what would he do sticking his head through the clouds? You know, everything else that exists manifests itself in some way. It shows itself to exist in some way. Even invisible things like electricity or air affect the planet. They manifest their existence. We see the effects of their existence on ourselves and on the planet, on the world. Other invisible things. How does your God exactly affect the planet in a testable, verifiable way? How do you see God? What is... Show me something that can only be explained by a God's presence, that's not explainable in nature. How does God affect the world exactly? Show me. It has to be a testable thing. Otherwise, it's just hearsay. But you're just going to assume this God exists, and assume of all the thousands of gods there have been, it's your God. Wow, lucky for you. What a coincidence. And how very convenient that of all the thousands of gods and religions there have been, your religion is the only right one. Boy, lucky for you. Oh my gosh, we all should be so blessed. So then I want to write what I wrote to, okay, there's more dialogue between Mr. Fungus and Icky Man. Okay, scrolling down. Actually, there wasn't. I just lost my place. Okay, so here's my sarcastic response to Icky Man that I actually wrote. LOL, the God of the Bible. LOL, bigger LOL. Excuse me, but you're a puny little mortal, and you think you know what the creator of the universe, assuming for a millisecond there is a God at all, or that it is huge coincidence and oh so convenient for you, your God, thinks, wants, feels, etc. Do you get the amount of arrogance that takes? Yes. Actually, your fictional character from the Bible absolutely wants people to go to hell. Which is why he made Satan and why he made some people unable to believe without evidence and proof, and then provides absolutely none. There is not one shred of verifiable, testable evidence anywhere for the existence not only of gods, but the supernatural. If your God was real, he would know ahead of time before we were even born. Which of us would have problems believing based on hearsay or what a fictional book says? He would, if he wanted to save people like this, provide the evidence we need to believe. He would know what it would take for us to believe, and he would put that in our path. The fact he does not only shows he wants people in hell. and in fact has made some people predestined for hell. He knew during the 35 years that I was a Christian, that all that time I was on my knees struggling to be his child, that when I hit my 40s, a certain piece of information would cross my path and I would cease to believe. After 2 years struggling to keep believing and praying for him to show me that all the things I clung to all my life were true and not a horrible con and a lie, he knew I was destined to fail and destined for hell. As for your belief system being the one thing to save you, isn't that, again, just a little bit arrogant of you to presume? Naturally, it just happens to be your beliefs and not any of the thousands of others there are or have been that is the only thing that is true and will save, LOL, whatever. Fact, I would not want to be saved if it meant being doomed to praise and worship a God who would even so much as contemplate torturing even just one person forever. What kind of monster would a God like that be? Certainly not one I would ever bend my knee to. And people who condone this God and support what he intends to do to billions of innocent people just because they can't believe something, I would not want to spend eternity with such people. I do curse your cult loudly and often because it hurts people, and in my 52 years I have seen how it has hamstrung this nation. America is being poisoned by Christianity, just as Europe is being poisoned by Islam. These cults are vile and wrong and evil. They worship evil gods. The day they are gone forever will be the first day I see real hope for the survival of humankind. Icky Man writes me back. Not sure whom you are addressing, but everything you just said is a lie and not biblical. Ooh, it's not biblical. So if it's not biblical, it must be false. To say that God is some predestined to hell, everyone starts out on the road to hell. Assumption, presumption. Everyone starts out on the road to hell. Based on where? Where do you get this information? And you think it's fact? Why? Everyone starts out on the road to hell. Really? And you know this how? It is your choice to stay on it. Really? So you can just choose to believe something or not believe something? Really? You can just choose to believe something? I find that hard to believe. I honestly, for me to believe something, I have to be convinced first that it's true. I have to be convinced to believe something. And if you don't show me proof and evidence to show something is true, I'm sorry, I don't believe it. It's not that I choose to not believe it. I just don't believe it because you have failed to convince me. So I'm sorry, no. People don't choose to not believe. People just don't believe because there's nothing to convince them to believe. So no, it's not a choice. People cannot believe because they are not convinced, and your fucking asshole God actually wants to burn and torture people forever for it. In your 52, oh, I'm sorry, I missed a part. It is your choice to stay on it. Right. Just like it is your choice to do anything else under the sun or moon. My cat is dropping things. Okay. In your 52 years, question mark? So you haven't been around as long as America to say that. I see. So I have to be 200 and some years old to be able to say that the country has gone downhill. Interesting. Well, in my 52 years, it has gone downhill. And I have seen what used to be freedoms in this country being threatened, consistently and aggressively threatened by this cult. Just take a look at what is going on in Indiana. That's just one small sample. But you have seen some of the changes since the 50s and 60s, from families who go to church to divorce and immorality and drugs. Oops, got an errand to run. Be right back. I don't quite understand the last sentence. People who go to church, let's see, higher divorce rate, higher suicide rate too. More of them in prison than atheists. Higher crime rate in countries that are more Christian than countries that are more secular. So I'm not quite sure what you're going to invoke or we're trying to invoke about families turning to drugs and immorality. Immorality, define that. Is it based on your book? Is the whole universe just based on your little book? Oh yes, the universe according to Icky Man in his book. Yes, it's all true because the book says so. It's fact. It's just reality, and you better believe it because the book says so. So that's you know, there's my proof right there. The book says so. And it's old looking, and it's got a fancy cover, and it has the word holy in front of the name. Ooh, and it's got gold leaf pages. Yeah, so it's special. Yeah, it's so special. And it says that it's inspired by God, so you know it's true. Everything that this guy says, everything that comes out of his mouth. Oh no, God doesn't do that because God da. Oh no, Jesus was da, is just assumptions. Everything Christians say is based on assumptions. It's like, oh, here's the little owner's manual to my cult. Oh no, that's not true. The reality is, here, let me go to this page and look at this paragraph. Here, this is what it says in this book. That's what it is right there. Yeah, this is what reality is according to this little paragraph right here in the book. Yeah. Right here, this paragraph. Everything that in the universe, according to Christian, is an assumption. Jesus existed. An assumption. Jesus had 12 disciples. An assumption. Jesus died on the cross and rose again. An assumption. God exists. An assumption. The Bible is inspired by God. An assumption. There was a Garden of Eden, and there was a talking snake and a tree of knowledge, and Eve was bad and she ate the apple and she got man to do the same. An assumption. We're all born sinners, and even, you know, we're even if we don't do anything bad our whole lives, we're still sinners because we inherited original sin, and we all deserve to go to hell unless we become Christian. An assumption. And yet they hammer us over the head with this fucking assumption and treat it like it's reality and try to tell us it's reality based on a book. What do you have for proof? Well, the book says. Or well, you know, there's just so many witnesses who have collaborated the story. Collaborated, whatever. There's thousands, millions of witnesses. Oh, there's written letters and stuff all over the place. It's been proven. Yeah, it's been proven. I'm just going to assume and presume that it's been proven. Everything's true in the Bible. An assumption. The Bible is actual history. An assumption. There's archaeological evidence for Noah's Ark and Jesus Christ. Assumptions. I get tired of it. I do. I get tired. I feel like, oh my God, I'm saying the same things over and over and over and over. You know, it's like I've compared it to mental illness, and I've gotten in trouble for doing that, but it's just so hard to talk somebody who's delusional out of their delusion. It's impossible. And they cannot see it. They really honestly see the world through the filter of this stupid ass fucking cult and this Bible. The stupid fucking Bible. It's just a piece of fiction and a propaganda tool and a manipulation that was deliberately put together. I'm sorry, but the Gospels were deliberately written to deceive people. So anyway, I wanted to make a video response to this icky man person who, just like every other Christian on the planet, walks around, lives his life based on assumptions, doesn't even bother to look into any of it to see if it's true. Capital T. And meanwhile, the rest of us have to listen to it. Oh, it's like, it gets so tiring. I have pulled way back on how much interaction I do on YouTube. I try to ignore people's responses to my videos that, you know, if they're stupid, I might just block them or whatever, but I try not to get into these arguments with them anymore because it's just a waste of time. You might as well just talk to a lamp post than try to reason with a Christian. So anyway, this has gotten to be very long. Sorry about that. If you've been watching, thank you. And I'm going to take this off because it's driving me crazy. Thanks for watching. Bye.
I am absolutely convinced that the main source of hatred in the world is religion. And I think it should be religion treated with ridicule and hatred and contempt.